Ryan in South Carolina says hello. He's on Mad Dog Unleashed. Ryan, welcome. It's your turn. How are you?
Good, dog. Good afternoon. Before I get to my point, just want to let you know that my dad passed away on Tuesday, and we buried him this morning. And last night at the service, I couldn't figure out how I wanted to eulogize him. So I ended up taking the theme of your on-air eulogy that you did for your father a couple years back, and it was very well received. So I want to say thank you for that.
How about that for Tony? How about that?
Yeah, it was
all right.
a huge influence there for me, and I listened to it over and over again, and I used that exact theme last night, and it was an extreme. It was a hit. It was an extreme.
But but just his whole life, that kind of thing, and just kind of tie it into some sports, things like that.
Yes. My dad started the Pop Warner Newark Football League in Newark, New Jersey. Michael James, his name was, and he took a lot of kids from the urban city and gave them an outlet. I don't know if you remember Raheem Morris, who was the coach of the Tampa Bucks.
I sure do. Yes.
He came through that program. I played with him. So that was a tremendous thanks to you for that. Now, to the tournament, I have to disagree with you on the Virginia front. I mean, they went 19-1 in the ACC, dog. That's impossible to do. They did it. I mean, I think they were a legitimate number one seed.
No, I'm not arguing that. They earned it. They earned the one seed. What I'm arguing, though, Ryan, is that they are not your prototypical program. They've never won an NCAA championship. They've only been to one Final Four in my lifetime. They are not your prototypical college basketball powerhouse. And as a result, to me, because of that, I've always envisioned 16-1s beating the Kentuckys, the Dukes, and the North Carolinas, not Virginia. Virginia does not belong in the same line as those other teams, and that is kind of what I meant. Plus the fact they were down by 20 in the second half, something else I didn't envision. As far as this year's one seed, Ryan, you're right. They deserve to be the one seed. No question about it. Go ahead.
Well, I tell you, the bigger flop is a one seed with Xavier. I'm a Big East fan. I was watching the Seton Hall game. How about that backdoor cover by Seton Hall, by the way? That killed a lot of people in Vegas.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Seton Hall, I didn't see the end of that game.
It was.
What was the spread?
4.5 Kansas, and Seton Hall hit 3 threes in the last 15 seconds. The third one, they were down 7. It put it at 4.
Right. Wow. How about the 83-79? Only you. I didn't know. I know the game was. I didn't know what the final spread was. I wonder if Steve Torrey got hurt with that. He had a rough week betting.
Yeah, he probably got ripped. Probably lost the mortgage. His wife's going to get after him for that. Bad job by Steve Torrey. Anyway, thanks for taking my call.
All right, Ryan, you good. Good to have you with us here. See, I don't mean we all know Virginia earned it. They deserve the one seed. I can't argue with that. My issue is that the program is not a one seed kind of program. As far as Xavier is concerned, we all knew that going into this tournament that Xavier was a very weak team, number 4 as a one seed. They were by far the worst one seed. They got. I saw it. I was there. They fell apart against Providence, and they fell apart yesterday. Now Xavier's had a good run in the NCAA under 2 or 3 different coaches, Mata, Miller. I mean, so nobody can sit there, Mac. So nobody's going to sit there and say they underachieve because Xavier's done an excellent job. They've been to a couple different Elite Eights. They've almost been through that final door to get to a Final Four. So they are who they are. They've done a nice job. Now, Xavier yesterday fell apart in the game. Had a 10-point lead with 7 minutes to go. They fell apart in the game. And that's the second time that has occurred. Fell apart. Second time, their last, 2 out of 3 games, they absolutely collapsed. Rich in Massachusetts, and he's with us here, and he says hello, and he's on Mad Dog Unleashed. Richard, welcome. How are you today? What's going on?
Hey, Dog, how are you?
Fine, Richard. Thank you. What's happening now?
Well, first of all, I'll give you a specific game and then an overall theme for the tournament. They talk about these coaches and all. Mick Cronin, and you already brought it up, but he's one of these guys that not only is he, like, sometimes you have a coach that you'd want your kid to play for because they're good with X's and O's, but they're not great, let's say, to deal with. Or the other way around. He's neither. I mean, if you watch the game yesterday, during the entire 22-point comeback, he didn't call one timeout. Not one. And then when his best player gets the 4th foul with 5 minutes to go, and they said, well, he's got to take him out. You should take him out. He decides to leave him in, okay? If the player's saying, I want to see him, because that's, it's not the player, it's the coach's job to do that. And then the kid commits a foul, which wasn't the greatest foul, with 3 minutes to go, and Cronin just absolutely unloads on this kid before he even gets to the sideline. And it's like, seriously? It's, you're the one that left him in. You know?
I did not see enough of this comeback. Middle of the night, early part of the evening. I saw the last couple minutes. I did not see all the foul issues. Plus the fact they were getting killed. I lost interest in the game and went elsewhere for sports. And I didn't stick with this game nearly as close as I should have. I did not like the Cronin response to some reporters' questions after the game. They were all telling me here today about how he acted like a complete jerk. That bothers me. But from a standpoint of the game itself, I mean, I saw the last 3-4 possessions, and Nevada just did what Nevada has done now for 2 straight games, Texas and this one here against the Bearcats, and they get to a Sweet 16. Boy, who had Nevada and Loyola Chicago in there? Believe it or not, I did. Now, my pool stinks, but I had Nevada and Loyola Chicago in that South. But I did not. When you think about that game per se, Cronin made some mistakes. I get it. They gave up an offensive rebound. They had a very poor possession with 9 seconds to go. That outdid them losing 2. But, again, when you're up 22, whatever it is, you cannot lose that game to a Nevada. That you can't do. You got to figure out a way to get through that game. Chris is in Kings Park, New York, and he says hello, and he's on Mad Dog Unleashed. Chris, good afternoon. How are you today?
All right, how are you?
All right, Christopher, thank you. What's on your mind now? Let me hear.
Hey, you got to give Syracuse a lot of credit for what they're doing.
I don't just say they're boring to watch, but I agree with that. What Syracuse does, Christopher, they muck up the game is what they do. They try to, they muck it up. They make it an ugly, rough, defensive-oriented kind of ball game, and they figure out a way to win a game in the mid-50s. That's what Syracuse does in the game.
You don't give them a chance against Duke?
Absolutely not a chance do I give them against Duke. They will get mauled by Duke. Syracuse's run will end in Friday night. I just think Duke is too savvy. They know Syracuse. They're going to be well prepared for him. They played him in the regular season. They beat him at home by a healthy amount. I think that is a very, very difficult game. Syracuse needed to play a team that that was not that familiar with them. And playing Duke is a problem. So I do not like them. I like Duke by a whole bunch on Friday night. Here's Ronnie in Michigan, Mad Dog Unleashed. Ron, welcome. Your turn. How are you today?
Hey, Doggy. I agree with you on Sunday. They could squeeze that schedule down. Saturday doesn't bother me because I really like all the games on Saturday night. It gives me something to watch, and I really enjoy that. And then as far as Michigan...
Well, Ron, the first big issue, they got a lot of issues Sunday. The first one is this. You cannot start a second-round college basketball game at 10 o'clock at night on a Sunday night.
No, I agree with that. 100%. But they could squeeze Sunday. But I don't have a problem with like Michigan didn't start till, heck, I think it was 10:20 something on Saturday night. And that really didn't bother me. Saturday's fine. Sunday they need to spruce that up a little bit. But also... on Michigan State, you had Lapis on about 3 weeks ago, and he said they were too tall and they didn't have the guards to win, and it all came back to bite them yesterday. But what I really called about, Doggy, this college basketball, I kind of disagree with you a lot. There's no more number one picks. I mean, there's 2 ways that you build a team. You either do it like Duke or you do it like Virginia. You have a team that's going to play together for 4 years, or you do the one and done. So you're going to have these upsets like this, and that's just the way it is.
I think you got to do it like Villanova does it. Villanova has a pro or two on the team. Kyle Lowry, for instance, a pro or two on the team, and they keep the players for long periods of time. I think that's the way to do it.
But not everybody gets the pros. I mean, there's only a few teams. There's only a handful of these kids are going in the draft, and half of them aren't even going to make that. So I don't know. It's just the way college basketball is, and I enjoy it. And if people don't like it, don't watch it.
But you could say that, but the NCAA doesn't want to hear that. Nor does TBS or CBS. I mean, they want eyeballs to the sets. They don't want eyeballs somewhere else. And listen, I like the game. Let me ask you a question. CBS at 7:07 on Thursday night. The nation's going to watch Loyola Chicago in Nevada.
Sure they are.
Oh no, they're not.
No, they're not. The tournament. You're not going to get a rating like Duke and say against Villanova. Of course you're not. But people are going to turn that.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
Sure they are.
No, they're not. Nobody knows who. No, nobody. No, they're not. No, they're not. Ron, they're not going to get people watching that game. I'm sorry. That's going to be a low-rated game. Why? If they got people watching the game, why is it at 7 o'clock at night for? They put it on earlier. That's 4 o'clock on the West Coast, for crying out loud. That's 4 o'clock in Nevada. Now, they don't want the game to start at 4 o'clock in Nevada, but they want to bury that game. They put it at 7:07. If everybody wanted to watch these games, then why was UMBC on True TV, for crying out loud? And the nation's darling. You couldn't find that game yesterday up against 60 Minutes. And, Thursday night, 10 o'clock, you're going to stay up to 1 a.m. watching Gonzaga and Florida State? Now, you and I will. I will. But the overall theme is that's what the upset does. It hurts your tournament as you move along because people want to watch the teams that they are familiar with, and they want to watch them in the big markets. They want to watch Big Ten teams. Well, Ohio State's out. Michigan State's out. They want to watch, North Carolina, one of the blue blood. Well, they're out. They want to watch Arizona. They're out. They one seeds. They're out. That's who they want to watch. You're into it. I get that. And I understand. Loyola Chicago and Nevada is a fun little game. Nobody's going to argue that. But it's not a championship game. And that's a factor. It's not a championship game. And it's 7 o'clock on Thursday night. And I'll tell you right now, the NCAA is going to get mauled in the last weekend in the Final Four. I mean, that's all on TBS. It's Easter weekend. It's baseball has begun, so the New Yorks, the Bostons, and Philadelphia, and those kind of LAs, and it's on Easter weekend, and it's on TBS. That's going to be a rough. If you compare the ratings this year to years past, this year they're going to get mauled. People are not going to go to TBS to find the games. I'm telling you right now. They're serious basketball fan, but there's not that many of them. Now, Duke Villanova is a humongous game. Humongous game. Duke Villanova will be a fun game to watch, and I think everybody who likes sports will be, if they get that, will be on top of that game. Now, if they get Texas Tech Duke, no, but if they get Duke Villanova 2 years ago, big city in Philadelphia, Duke, people will watch that game. The blue bloods sell in the sport, and there's not that many of them. UCLA, Kentucky, Duke, North Carolina. That's what sells in college basketball. That's what sells. 11 in front of the arrow, we continue. Mad Dog Unleashed.